Hi there, welcome back to Apatros Review. In this episode, another one of my Arthouse Atrocities, Absolute Evil, film directed by Ulli Lommel in the year 2008. Hi there, welcome back to Apatros Review. I'm your host Mila Sipka, and join me as I take you on a ride for the wild world of science fiction action horror, all from my personal DVD collection. Now in this episode we'll look at another one of my Arthouse Atrocities, and yes, that means another Ulli Lommel film. This is what, the fourth one I've done so far? Now this particular film, like all the other post-millennial films Ulli Lommel did, were all direct-to-video. Now, I've seen copies of this film on cheap multipacks from Australian budget DVD label Flashback Entertainment. I've yet to see singles of this one around. Now, Ulli Lommel is a German-born director who, during his life, he died a couple of years ago, made quite a formidable reputation in the art house market, and since the coming of the millennium, as one of the world's very worst directors, given the sheer number of seriously inept and incredibly badly made for next to nothing serial killer flicks that almost always employed in some form Lommel's post-millennial tactic of lava, rinse, repeat, where he played the same scenario over and over again, with very little in the way of innovation. In his pre-millennial heyday, he made some interesting films, such as the 1973 art house classic The Tenderness of the Wolves and the 1980 B-horror The Boogeyman, the film he has remained most well known for. Indeed, every single one of his post-millennial works have the words from the director of The Boogeyman plastered on the DVD sleeves, both of which have earned him some praise, the latter his biggest financial hit. But once the millennium came, the quality of his films dropped like a German U-boat getting sunk by a depth charge, to use a random but connected in some way analogy given that Lommel was German-born. Anyway, the story for Absolute Evil is pretty simple enough. A woman who lost her father years before when he was gunned down in a robbery gone bad finally manages to track down the hood who killed him. But instead of getting her revenge, she falls head over heels in love with him when he confesses his crime to her. After a few days of hanging out together, he proposes to her. But his former gang members don't want him to expose his secret, so they decide to silence him. And on the orders of their boss, they corner him and kill him, but leave the woman alive. The woman's guardian, an ace lawyer with connections to the underworld, gets a release from police custody without charge, and sets out to take matters into his own hands and wipe out the gang, once he learns from a captured hood that the gang have realized their mistake and sent back to try and kill her. Like just about every one of Lommel's post-millennial films, Absolute Evil copped an absolute ass-kicking and wound up with a frighteningly low IMDb score, and nearly everybody considers it to be a piece of shit. But given that this is the fourth of Lommel's films I've sat for and reviewed for this site, I personally wouldn't be completely agreeing with that sentiment. It's not a good film by any measure, indeed it's actually pretty damn bad, but unlike Diary of a Cannibal, Son of Sam or Kill a Nurse, this is not entirely unwatchable, certainly not atrocious. So the D, the 2 out of 10 grade goes for this one. If you treat it as an ultra-cheap gangland drama, of which there were quite a few being made in the 2000s, usually within the urban or hip-hop thriller genre, this would be somewhat watchable to an extent. For a Lommel film, it is surprisingly competently put together, given that there's no serial killer element here, while the story doesn't feature the lava, rinse, repeat storytelling technique. Well, not exactly, but is there in different form. Ulli Lommel's cameo role of the lawyer hero's underworld buddy has him repeatedly torture some poor dude by dunking him into a filled-up bathtub, which looks so realistic it could be done for real. And the story is a tad more substantial than the previous films from Lommel's post-millennial output. The basic crux of the story is a love affair that never had a chance to fully blossom thanks to external forces, but it did provide some interest, thanks to Lommel's art house talent finally showing a glimmer of revival. Although David Carradine, in one of his last ever film roles, looks like he's not happy with it being in it in my role despite the starring name. As I've already mentioned, this one gets a D. Now this was released in Region 4 DVD by Flashback Entertainment in a cheap 5-film box set in the early 2010s, but that is the only time I've ever seen it on sale. I wish I could have said that the Peacock films were released at first, but since I cannot confirm that, I won't put any money on that assumption. So that's it for that one. That pretty much gets a D. It's a pretty bad film. Not terrible, but just bad. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Now, this will be probably the last Arthouse Atrocity for a while, and there's some real howlers coming in maybe sometime next year or so. Now, lockdown in Victoria is easing, but it's still pretty bad. And I'm going to do a little special thing for Halloween. It's called Coronaween. Now, about on the 27th of October, you'll check the episode prime. You'll get more information on what films I'm doing then. Okay, hope you guys are staying safe, and that's it for this review. Oh, by the way, I don't do a request, but if you want to know if I have a particular film in my collection, just hit me up in the comments section. See ya.